Happy Sunday, everybody, and welcome back to our Sports Interaction studio for another edition of the Warmies, Calgary Flames pregame show prior to this afternoon's game between the Flames and the Carolina Hurricanes at the often renamed Lenovo Arena in Raleigh, North Carolina. Glad to be with you here in Marteloup. Should be a lot of fun this afternoon as the Flames, I would say, are the strong underdogs in a game against the Hurricanes, a team that is red hot, not just this season, but in the past against the Flames. I think it's something like 8-1-1 in their last 10 contests against Calgary. Let's put up the lines from our buddies over at Sports Interaction, where every game is your game, from puck drop to overtime. Bet with Canada's homegrown sportsbook, 18 plus. Please play responsibly. And as we sort of talked about off the top, holy smokes. This is probably the most lopsided one that we've seen in the early stages of this season, at least from a money line standpoint. The Flames at plus 220, Carolina at minus 275. So if you want to go against the grain, you know, maybe you go for the Calgary line there. Maybe you say, hey, they're 4-1 in their last 5. Maybe they've got a shot at getting something out of today's game. Certainly, not what Sports Interaction seems to think is going to happen in today's contest. The Flames have done a very good job in recent games of generating a lot of shots, not necessarily the high danger variety, but, you know, generally being the better possession team in their games. They're still, even though they're second last in the National Hockey League by points percentage, they're one of the top ranked teams in terms of most possession categories. The Carolina Hurricanes, however, are a team that has a long earned reputation of juicing shot counts, getting lots and lots and just sort of smothering you. Not necessarily getting all the again, sort of the same 10 bell chances, but there have been so many Hurricanes games over the years where they've outshot their opponents by a factor of 2 or 3 to 1. I wonder if today's game is going to look like that, if it's going to be a game that will maybe put the Flames back in the ways that they were in before, where they were getting outshot and outscored, because I think the Hurricanes are a really strong shooting team in the sense of they get a lot of shots, but the Flames, they have been sort of playing that role a little bit in recent games and doing a reasonably good job of it, as we saw a couple of days ago when they beat the Florida Panthers after another edition of this Warmies show. The Flames in the Warmies era, if you want to call it that, are 5-3-1, as our buddy Ryan Pike pointed out after our last Afterburner show. So the Flames, the Flames seem to like playing in this Warmies environment. We're helping them get warm. They're getting warm right now over in Raleigh. And one little tidbit that came out just before we went live on today's edition of the Warmies from our buddy Eric Francis, who is there with Sportsnet, is Devin Cooley getting the start yet again for the Calgary Flames today. Devin Cooley with a .930 save percentage through, I believe, 8 appearances this season with the Calgary Flames. And we talked a ton in the start of the season about how much Dustin Wolf was being leaned upon on a game-by-game basis for this Calgary Flames team. And now, would you look at this? Devin Cooley going again. Pardon me, 9 games with the Flames this year. Devin Cooley is 3-2-1 with a .930 save percentage. He's won his last 3 games. It's a Los Gatos, California product between the pipes instead of the Gilroy, California product for the Calgary Flames this afternoon against the Carolina Hurricanes. Something about these late November road swings around American Thanksgiving. All these afternoon games. It's weird being in this studio with all the natural light in late November, but here we are, and we're glad to have you along with us on this edition of the Warmies. For everybody in the chat, be sure to throw a like, be sure to throw in a chat, be sure to throw in a super chat. Of course, proceeds from the super chat go to the Youth Centers of Calgary, and we saw that mammoth 12-hour show put on by the Barn Burner Boys at Rhett Warner's house a few days ago. We want to see similar outputs of super chats in our shows all across the board, not just, you know, with Dean and Boomer and Dean and Boomer are the same guy. Boomer and Pinder and Rhett and Robin Regier and that scoundrel Jack, who again is not here in the studio today. Jack just skipping his obligations. Unacceptable. You know who's not skipping the Warmies is Ryan Pike, who's in the chat. Our buddy Pike, who was on the last Afterburner with us here in the studio. Woo, it's time to get warm, everybody. That's absolutely right, Pike. We appreciate you bringing the heat into today's edition of the Warmies. We'll take a look at what the lineup the Flames are going with today looks like. We're going to bring up the one just from Daily Faceoff. We don't anticipate it'll look that much different, but we're going to keep tabs on what our buddies live in Carolina are putting out there. It's basically what we've come to expect. Jonathan Huberdeau, Morgan Frost, and Matt Coronado. Yegor Sharangovich, Nazem Kadri, and Joel Farabee. That's been a very good top six for the Flames over the last couple of weeks. The third line of Connor Zary, Michael Backlund, and Blake Coleman has been rock solid over the last couple of weeks. And Johnny Beecher continues as the Flames' fourth line center with Adam Klapka and Ryan Lomberg. Beecher just a couple days removed from getting his first point as a member of the Calgary Flames. Good for him. And on defense, it looks like everything else is going to remain the same as well. Yan Kuznetsov, who recorded his first NHL goal in the win over Florida 2 days ago, paired up with Mackenzie Weegar, who scored his first goal of the season in that victory against the Panthers. Mackenzie Weegar has 5 points this year, and it's been a bit of a tough sledding for number 52, but he finally got off the schneid against his former team. Good to see that happen. Kevin Ball with Rasmus Anderson, but Anderson continues to pile up the points. Came out again today that Anderson is still with his sights set on the Dallas Stars and the Vegas Golden Knights as his two preferred destinations if he does end up getting dealt. Ball is signed for quite a while. He's not going anywhere. And, of course, on the third pairing, Joel Hanley and Braden Bahal, a couple of waiver claims still together for the Flames. The Carolina Hurricanes are a real tough opponent. The Calgary Flames were in 32nd in the league by points percentage. They are no longer because the Nashville Predators lost to the Winnipeg Jets last night. Two teams that can't get a win if they tried, unless they go up against each other right now, Winnipeg and Nashville. Maybe two teams that Calgary will be seeing around them for much of the season to come. Don't know if Winnipeg is going to be able to get out of this slide with their departure of Nikolai Ehlers, who's playing for the Hurricanes tonight, but also just their lack of center depth. That's a situation for Calgary to monitor as they continue on the Mission McKenna, as we here at Flames Nation are putting it. So the Flames 1 point up on Nashville for last place in the National Hockey League at 9-14-3. And we've got a Pike bomb. We've got two Pike bombs via Derek Wills. So this is a Pike Wills bomb. It's like one of those astronomical bodies, like a comet that is discovered by two men at the same time, two people at the same time. And in this case, it is Derek Wills acting as the Clyde Tombaugh, but instead of discovering Pluto, he is discovering that it is Ryan Lomberg out of the lineup for Dryden Hunt and Braden Bahal out of the lineup for Jake Bean in tonight's game. So we have discovered a couple of new things on the Warmies. And that's why we do this show during the Warmies. Again, I mean, you can't contest the name because it's the Warmies and it happens during the Warmies. And it allows us to discover these sorts of things together. That's really the point of it. It's to create a community, and you all are the Warmies community. And just what a discovery on this Saturday or Sunday afternoon. Appreciate it, Pike. Thank you so much for tuning in and for blessing us all with your continued bombing. Well, so Braden Bahal is out, and Ryan Lomberg is out, and Ominous Flames 14 pointing out that he never would have found this out if it wasn't for the Warmies. Absolutely correct, Ominous 14. Ominous Flames 14. Thank you for tuning in and being with us on this Sunday afternoon. I don't even know what day it is. I'm just so predisposed and inclined to dedicate my brain power to these lineup changes. It's something. Does that mean Dryden Hunt is making his Flames season debut? We're going to be seeing a number 15 on the fourth line for the Flames tonight, along with John Beecher and Adam Klapka. Interesting. That's certainly two players who are getting swapped out for one another. So, well, I guess we can't be doing the Ryan Lomberg shot props with Sports Interaction tonight. So if you have those in the queue, be sure to get them out before the game starts. Just kidding. I don't think Ryan Lomberg was on the shot prop list, and I know that because we have one preloaded here. Producer Michael, let's show the folks what they have to choose from over at Sports Interaction this afternoon with the shot props of the Calgary Flames. I am tempted to bet the under on a lot of these. The Flames are generally a good shot quantity team, less so a shot quality team. But by the same token, the Hurricanes are incredible at suppressing shots of any kind. So while for a lot of this season, we've been saying, bet the over on Coronado, bet the over on Coleman, I would be more so inclined to bet the under on quite a few of these. Even, with the Coronado, you got a bit more breathing room because it's 2.5. Same deal with Kadri. I would be a little bit more. And on the Hurricanes side, I would sort of maybe flip over to that tab as well and look at some of their top players. We'll look at the Hurricanes lineup here, straight from Daily Faceoff. It's a darn good one. It maybe doesn't have that singular top player that some other teams have, but this is a lineup that has gotten the Hurricanes to second in the Metro with a 15-7-2 record. There's the word. Through 24 games this season. Sebastian Aho between Seth Jarvis and Andrei Svechnikov. Logan Stankoven with Jackson Blake and Nikolai Ehlers. That's a pretty solid top six. Maybe no truly foundational star talents there. Aho's on the cusp, but some really solid players there who have generated a ton of offense in their day. Third line, Jordan Staal, Jordy Martinook, and William Carrier. Staal, I think, is maybe a game-time decision for this one. And our buddy Janko, Mark Jankowski on the fourth line with Taylor Hall and Eric Robinson. Mark Jankowski, maybe not the best player from the draft, but the crazy thing with Janko is when you look at that 2012 draft first round, he's played in 429 career games. And some of the other guys who were picked around him, Slater Cuckoo didn't even reach 200. Derek Pouliot didn't get to 250. Malcolm Subban stopped short of 100. Jordan Schmaltz got 42. That first round was hit and miss in certain ways. And Mark Jankowski, good for him continuing to generate a career out of being a good bottom six center. Since being acquired from Carolina at the deadline last year, he has 9 goals and 12 points in 34 games over parts of 2 seasons and is under contract through the end of this year at $800,000 a year. Not too bad for the 6'4", 200-pound fourth-line center for Carolina. Still rocking the double digits, too, number 77 for the former Flame. We'll take a look at the Carolina Hurricanes defensive group, which is pretty solid, although without Jacob Slavin. Keandre Miller and Sean Walker. Sean Walker has been terrific on the Hurricanes' top pairing this season. The point production maybe hasn't been all the way there, but he's been doing yeoman's work on the top pair for Carolina. Another guy who's been fantastic is Shane Gostisbehere, a Coyote abroad. He kind of revived his career with a couple of seasons in Arizona after being dumped unceremoniously by the Philadelphia Flyers. The Flyers traded 2 picks to get rid of Shane Gostisbehere 4 years ago, and now he is one of the top defensemen on one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. Gostisbehere has 18 points in 15 games this season. And then a couple of kids, Alex Nikishin and Joel Nystrom on the third pairing for the Carolina Hurricanes. Gostisbehere paired with Jalen Chatfield on pairing number 2. So some good options, but of course being without Jacob Slavin is a big, big hole for the Carolina Hurricanes. And they, of course, don't have Brett Pesce anymore. So not quite the same as it has been in the past. We'll see if the Hurricanes are a team that maybe in the future, could you imagine maybe they make a play for Rasmus Andersson? We've got a super chat for our buddies over at the Youth Centers of Calgary, and it's from one of my favorite folks, not just on the chat, not just in the Calgary media sphere, but just one of my favorite folks, our buddy Anand Unatan, who puts in a question for $5. $5 Anand bucks. Hey, Mike, how are you? Which Flame have you been impressed with this season, and who is disappointed? You have a great Sunday, FN crew and everyone. Great question, buddy. Anand with the question. I would say I've been super impressed by Matt Coronado, especially the last 2-3 weeks. After a rough start, he has played, I think, the best hockey, some of the best hockey I've seen from him as a Calgary Flame. He has, to me, become more of a do everything type player in the top six. A guy who doesn't just sort of work on the perimeter, doesn't work on the periphery. A guy who gets to the dirty areas, is able to eat sticks and eat pucks to get what he needs to get done. He makes things happen, and he takes abuse and he takes punishment to make it happen. And I think that's been super impressive. Obviously, Rasmus Andersson has been incredible. He's been skating a lot better. He's been putting good shots toward the net. He's been making smart decisions in the offensive zone, which I think was mainly the thing that hampered him the most last year, is that he was just making mistakes. And he has been doing a good job of limiting those mistakes. He's been getting a little bit fortunate, of course, but he's been doing a great job. Disappointments. The thing is, I think everybody on the Flames right now has had redeeming qualities at points this season. Connor Zary obviously only has 4 points on the year, and he had a secondary assist against Florida a couple days ago. It has been a tough season for Zary, but I think over the last couple weeks with the Backlund line, he's looked a whole lot better. Just playing with confidence, not getting the bounces, but he's playing with confidence, and he is not being exposed. The same can go for Sharangovich, who I think has been a really nice fit on that line with Nazem Kadri and Joel Farabee. And I think you have two guys who are just buzzing along, playing some of the best hockey they've played all year in Kadri and Farabee. And I think Igor has sort of flown under the radar in terms of the contributions that he has made on that line. But I think he hasn't just been a passenger. I think he's been putting in some work as well. So those are the two most disappointing players in the forward group, but even then, I think they are still contributing. So that's the way that I see it. Obviously, you want to see those guys scoring twice as much as they are right now. Just plain and simple. But I think they are not looking like they were at the start of the year, where they didn't look like they belonged in the lineup. Both those guys are contributing in positive ways, and it shows in their underlying numbers. Igor's underlying numbers over the last 2-3 weeks have just shot way up. This is a guy who, when the Flames have him on the ice with that Kadri line, it's a line that is clicking along extremely well, and the Flames are out-chancing their opponents by a decent margin with him and that line on the ice. And it's been good to see. He's been sort of contributing to good possession, maintaining possession and creating chances. Igor had 4 shots on goal the other night. That's something he needs to keep doing. And you know, the assists and points will come. And yeah, folks in the chat are talking about Mackenzie Weegar. Quite frankly, I think Weegar has struggled at times, but by the same token, I think he's also just in a tough rut. I think it's just been a situation where things haven't been going his way, and that's kind of compounded a bit. And I hope he gets out of it with that goal the other night. The last player on this team who I'm worried about in the long term is Mackenzie Weegar. I'm not worried about him all. I think he will be just fine. So, you know, -20, it is what it is, but you're not looking to trade this guy right away anyway. So what does it really matter to you, right? Like, if you have a guy like Blake Coleman, who is putting up a Cy Young-like stat line with, 8 goals and 3 assists. Okay, well, maybe you want him to get some more assists, but you're happy, bothly because he's playing well, but also because you might be actively looking to trade this guy. With Weegar, if he's at a slump in year 3 of an 8-year deal, oh well, it is what it is. But great question on, and thanks for the $5, buddy. You are the best, and we'll have you on the Warmies at some point. That is an absolute promise from me here in the studio. We'll make it happen at some point this season. Let's get some more questions in the chat. Let's get you to like the video. Liking the video is a big thing for us here on the Warmies and across the entire Flames Nation network. It's something that really helps the folks upstairs sort of see this and say, hey, people like this show. And if you like this show, throw it a like if you don't mind. And yeah, thanks to Sports Interaction for providing those lines and for giving folks like you an ability to put a little bit more skin in the game. Again, every game is your game. When you bet with Sports Interaction, you can get in the action with parlay boosts, live betting, and easy deposits and payouts. Bet now at sportsinteraction.com/FlamesNation. 19 plus. Please play responsibly. sportsinteraction.com/FlamesNation. Speaking of buddies, Jack Rosa in the chat asking me if I think Dryden Hunt will score today. That is a prop that I would totally put down. Wouldn't that be something? Last minute lineup change, guy who hasn't played for the Flames this season, who has been a consummate pro. I mean, you talk about guys in the American League level who are just able to maintain a certain level game in, game out, provide a good example to the young guys who can contribute in the NHL level whenever they come up. Dryden Hunt has been one of these guys basically his entire career. Undrafted, had an incredible last season of junior with the Moose Jaw Warriors in the WHL when he was 20. Comes in, sort of starts actually with the Florida Panthers, was in there for a while, went to Zona, so I'll always have a soft spot for him, played for the Oats, Rangers, Avs, Leafs. Then he gets to the Flames. They traded 10 points in the chat. If anybody off the dome remembers who they traded to get Dryden Hunt from the Leafs at the deadline in 2023, one of Brad Treliving's last trades with the Calgary Flames. But Hunt, I mean, as good of a quadruple A player as you'll see. And a guy who, being a local guy, you love having with the Wranglers, maybe won't actively bring people out to watch the Wranglers, but he'll put on a good show once they get there. And the AHL is littered with guys like this who are just fantastic. Brett Sutter, when he played for the Wranglers, was the same type of guy. Matty Phillips is continuing to be the same kind of guy, currently with the San Diego Gulls. Would love to see the Wranglers bring him back to fill that Dryden Hunt role at some point in the future. So cool to see him get a game, especially considering, for where the Wranglers are right now and where the Flames are right now. I have no problem with a guy like Dryden Hunt getting a few games, because I have said on the show consistently, I want to see Matt Vigridden back with the Flames. I'm super excited about this guy. By the same token, I don't want to rush it. I want to see him in March. And so swapping out Lomberg to make that chain, sure, I got no problem with it. And good call, Tuxedo 5140. You're right. It was Radim Zahorna. Remember that? Remember him? Radim Zahorna, number 67. He was the guy they traded to get Dryden Hunt from the Toronto Maple Leafs. And yes, Matt C., they actually traded for Dryden Hunt. It's true. And it wasn't a bad trade. They got a guy who's been in the organization ever since, for a guy they claimed off waivers. So not so bad. And yeah, I mean, there was a time where folks thought maybe Dryden Hunt would be something a little bit more, but quite frankly, for a lot of these guys, this is how they enter the league. They kind of come in, they play at 150%, and they might just not have the skills to keep up on a full-time basis. They bring them up every so often to provide that jolt of energy. I call it the Walker-Dewar principle. You see these guys over a 2-week stretch, and they play incredibly well. They play with all sorts of fire. And eventually, if a player comes up and he's playing purely based on fire, that fire might never go out, but it'll go down. It'll go down a little bit. And with Dryden Hunt, he's best when you bring him up in spurts. It was the same thing. I mean, remember when Zach Ronaldo played for the Flames? And he played for the Flames for like 40 games? Maybe not even that much. It might have been like 30 games. And he was best when you brought him in for one game and then you immediately sat him out for another month right after that. You didn't want him to be in the lineup 2 games in a row, because after the first game, game 2 was no good. And it's the same with, a lot of these energy guys who come up. So hopefully Dryden Hunt's able to provide a little bit more speed against the Carolina Hurricanes tonight. The Hurricanes, a very, very good team that the Flames will have their hands full against on this Sunday afternoon. I got it right the first time that time. We'll have a look at some of the other games on the docket for today. There's already one that is in the books. The Washington Capitals defeating the New York Islanders by a 4-1 final score. Tom Wilson with a couple of goals in that one. And Alex Ovechkin getting his 12th of the season in that game. One that is already in action. The Anaheim Ducks in Chicago to take on the Blackhawks. That was a 3-0 game in Anaheim's favor at one point. Cutter Gauthier, Olin Zellweger, and Chris Kreider with the goals for the Ducks. But Tyler Bertuzzi and Ryan Green have struck back-to-back in the second period to make it a 3-2 game. One still to come, Ottawa against Dallas at 4:00 p.m. local time. So about an hour after the Flames game starts here today. Yesterday, there were 11 games on tap. Just go through some of the notable ones. The Colorado Avalanche stay red hot. Nice to have a first overall pick or two in there. They defeated the Montreal Canadiens by a 7-2 final. The Edmonton Oilers beating Seattle by a 4-0 final score. The Toronto Maple Leafs more than tripling up the Pittsburgh Penguins 7-2. In the aforementioned Tank Bowl, it was Winnipeg beating Nashville 5-2. Dylan Holloway had the only goal for the St. Louis Blues as they beat the Utah Mammoth 1-0. And another one that's relevant for the bottom of the standings, Buffalo beating the Minnesota Wild in a shootout, 3-2, the final score, with Noah Ostlund getting the winning goal. Tuxedo 5140 asking, is Mike on Afterburner today? The answer to that question is yes. I'll be live here at the studio. Our buddy Kent Wilson will join us remotely after the Calgary Flames defeat, or maybe fall to, the Carolina Hurricanes. Well, I got ahead of myself there. I saw the script before this show started. So yeah, there you go, Tuxedo. Glad to be a bearer of good news. Yes, we'll the two of us will be on the Afterburner show. I'm doing a lot of them in December as well. We just got the early schedule. Get ready for a lot of this on the Afterburner show, if that's something that you like. Kent Wilson's in the Warmies chat. Thanks, Kent. Is this your first time watching the Warmies? Maybe since the inaugural show? I just cursed them. Kent's absolutely right. I did just curse the Carolina Hurricanes. They're not going to beat the Calgary Flames today. The Flames are going to come out on top, everybody. So get excited for that. I think somebody earlier in the chat asked me for my own score prediction. I'm going to say, in all seriousness, I think the Flames might get 1 or 2 goals tonight. I don't think they're going to get more than that. I think it'll take a power play for them to get on the board tonight. My final score prediction personally would be 5-2 Carolina. But we'll see. Carolina's got a good lineup. They're a good lineup, but I think it's just a case where they're going to outskate the Flames. They've just got so much speed, and the Flames have been such a slow team all year long that I just don't see them putting up much of a fight tonight. But could be wrong. The Flames have been playing with some fire of late. Speaking of playing with fire, Colton Dach just tied the game for Chicago against the Anaheim Ducks. So Chicago has rallied from 3-0 down to even the score against Anaheim in another critical Western Conference battle here this evening or this afternoon or wherever you are. Time is a construct. One more thing before we head off. NCAA updates. Things just continue to chug along for the Flames prospects from the 2025 NHL draft. Cullen Potter is continuing to play the best hockey of his season with the Arizona State Sun Devils. He scored the overtime winner for ASU yesterday in their 4-3 win over Ohio State. Potter now has goals in 3 straight for the Sun Devils. He has goals in 4 of his last 5. He is riding a 7-game point streak with the ASU Sun Devils. So great to see the Flames' 32nd overall pick from last year's draft starting to really pile them up. He is up to 14 points in 16 games this season. As well, their other first-round pick, Cole Reschny for UND, has been piling up the assists on UND's top line with Ben Strinden, a 7th-round pick of the Nashville Predators 4 years ago. Strinden is 23 going on 24. Cole Reschny is still 18 years of age. And Reschny has 4 points in his last 2 games against, I believe that is Bemidji State University, including an assist on the winning goal in yesterday's contest. So Reschny is up to over a point a game with North Dakota this season. We should also make mention once again of our buddy Ethan Wittenbach, the Flames' 5th-round pick from the 2025 NHL draft. Wittenbach is just piling up the points with Quinnipiac this season. He's got 22 of them in 16 games with the Bobcats. He continues to play against schools that I've never heard of, which is the only thing that gives me pause with Wittenbach. But in yesterday's game against Stonehill College, Wittenbach put up 2 assists in a 3-2 win. For Quinnipiac, the game before that against College of the Holy Cross, he had 4 points, 2 goals, and 2 assists in a 7-6 overtime win for the Bobcats. So the prospects are doing well for the Calgary Flames in the lower levels. There's a lot coming, and the Flames and their fans have lots of reasons to be excited, especially with 2 more first-round picks coming up in this year's draft and maybe more on the horizon with lots of players available for trades in the near future. Of course, we should make mention, we should do our, we should create a new segment here on the show, because obviously there's so much being made about the Flames and their own draft pick. We should also mention, if the season ended today, the Vegas Golden Knights would give the Flames a decent little pick. I believe it would be 19th overall. So something to keep an eye on. The Flames didn't pick last year until 18. With the Cole Reshny pick that they got from the New Jersey Devils. They gave up their own pick, 16th overall, to Montreal, which was later flipped to the New York Islanders. If the Flames were to get that pick from Vegas today, it would be 19th. They would have picks 2 and 19. Wouldn't that be something? So something to keep an eye on as the season continues for the Flames and the Vegas Golden Knights. That's part of the Noah Hannafin trade from a couple of years ago. Well, folks, we're just about at opening puck drop at the Lenovo Arena in Raleigh, North Carolina. One more time, thank you so much to our friends over at Sports Interaction. You can visit them for all the latest props, all the greatest bets. Just head on over to the link, sportsinteraction.com/FlamesNation. 19 plus. Please play responsibly with a trusted Canadian brand since 1997. My name is Mike Gould. You'll be seeing me with Kent Wilson on Afterburner after today's game. Until then, from Sports Interaction Studio, you've been watching the Warmies.
Hey, buddies. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it. Also, if you could throw in a like and subscribe, it does help us out with what it is we are doing. And check out more at flamesnation.ca.